Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Tuesday, July 8th, around 7 o'clock at night, Eastern Standard Time. And this will be the video for YieldMax Weekly Paying Funds, ULTY, the Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund, and LFGY, the Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income Fund. I usually jump past these pretty quick, but just to take a quick second, all the information I bring to you is readily available. I go to these websites each day. The holdings come out every morning, so you can scroll down on each page. You got to go to each one to download the holdings. But then around 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, you can go to any of the different pages and click on the intraday trades, and it brings up this file that has all trades throughout the YieldMax funds. So this video, we go over all the trades that were performed within ULTY. So we start at line 103, go to 154, so 51 trades, that's not bad. And then LFGY starts at line 160, goes to 203, so 43. So not too much to go through today as far as our trades are concerned. But just to show you like what the holdings page looks like when you download it, right? This is what you're looking at. So I take this, make it a lot easier to view, get rid of stuff that you don't necessarily need, and I make it eventually look like this, and then put some color to it so we can see whether things are going well or not. Alright, but the other thing I wanted to show you while we're on that page, so that's how you can get the holdings or the downloads. You can also look back at the previous distributions, right? Most recent will be at the top, and it just keeps on scrolling down. And you can also see how the last distribution, sometimes they don't keep this fully updated, because this one says 625, but was 100% return of capital and 0% income. So as these go through, if they're making money, you're able to see percentage-wise how much came out of there. And then, as always, just a reminder, I'm on X at ETF_Inspector1. I let you know when videos are coming out. So I just started Roundhill coverage on 0 DTE funds. They're real quick videos. They're not deep like this because each fund makes one trade. So it's just a real quick, let you know what their trade was and whether or not they won the trade. But I'm going to try and post like I did today and let you know the trades kind of as soon as they come out, just in case you want to trade with them. YieldMaxes are similar. They're SDTY, RDTY, and QDTY. They just don't have anywhere near the amount of money in them, so that equals not as many people that are going to watch the videos. So that's why I chose Roundhill, and I didn't want to have all my eggs in one basket. So okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. I thought I had an image ready. I lost it. I just had the thumbnail as a bigger version, was going to look through them. But it's pretty even mixture. ULTY itself went down 0.32%. It's just about even for what was in the red compared to what was in the green on both funds. LFGY also went down 0.22%. So we will go more in depth as we look through them. We'll start with ULTY. That's everyone's favorite, mine included. All right, I want to make this take up the whole screen, but it's fighting me. Okay, we're done with that. Okay, so ULTY, yesterday we had some new people buy into the fund, so we got more money to play with. So as you can see, we put that to use. Nothing ever really sits around in this fund. So we bought some more Applied Optoelectronics, that's the new one from yesterday, Mara, MicroStrategy, Robinhood, Oklo, and New Scale Power Corp. So bought all of those, roughly 2 to 3 million, 2 to 4 million into each. So anything where we bought new, you're going to just see a sell short and a buy. So that's going to be selling the call and buying the protective put for those shares. So that wouldn't be considered a roll. We'll breeze through them a little quicker, and we'll look in depth if there was an actual closing out and rolling. And we've got the orange. If you watch these videos, you're used to orange on this page, but I figured let's tie the two together, and we'll put orange back here too. Okay, so AAOI, just selling some more options to go with the new shares that we just bought, $51,000 profit. First Solar, they closed out this week's 187.50s and 192.50s, and they sold 177.50 still for this week, adjusted the puts as well. So let's see, they bought to close for 25 and 48 cents, and they sold to open for $1.86 and 204, altogether profiting almost $597,000. So that was a nice one. Robinhood, this one was odd. So they didn't, what do I want to say? Not closing out the calls, they adjusted the puts. So they sold their 90s, right? If you watched earlier in the week, they were sliding the puts up and up closer as the stock kept rising. So now they were up and the stock dropped today, so the puts became valuable. They sold them to cash in some money there, and they bought 85s with them. So they collected $1.90 and $1.73, and then they paid $1.37. And let's see, the $1.90 went with the 54. So they collected $1.90 and then paid 54 cents. Then those two go together. These two go together. So no, that was what it was. So they bought these 90s to go along with the new shares. They paid $1.37. They went up in value because the stock dropped, so they sold them for $1.73, and then they bought 85s. That's how that works for 47. So $471,000 profit. Hope you were able to follow along with that. IonQ, they closed out their 44s. They just took a loss on them. Paid $3.95 and moved them up and out to next week, 51, collecting $1.48. So took a almost $8 million loss on that one. So that hurt. Mara and MicroStrategy and Oklo, all same thing. We bought new shares, so we just sold new calls and bought new puts to go along with them, profiting $39,000, $22,000, and $27,000. Palantir, we closed our 134s for this week for a loss, paid $5.94 per share, 100 shares per contract, 1,277 contracts, and we sold 143s, still staying in the same week though, for $1.17. Losing $655,000 on that transaction. Reddit closed the 170s, paying 13 cents for them. Stayed within the same week, sold 155s, collecting $1.23, profiting $439,000. RH, just selling some more options to go with the new, man, I don't know why I keep getting tongue-tied every time, to go with the new shares. So no. RH is a debit call spread. So we bought the 180s, we sold the 210s, and so that cost us $288,000. But that's more of an investment, right? Just, I know I've repeated this, but in case someone's new, a debit call spread is when you're betting it's going to go up. It's why you bought the closer one and sold the further one out just to help finance it. So when you do that, you lose the most amount of money up front because you paid to place your bet, and then at the end you'll close it out to make whatever money you can make. In this case, you've got a maximum of $30 per share because you've got a sold call on the other end, $30 above the purchased call. Okay, SMR, that's New Scale. Closed their 40s for this week, paying 12 cents. Sold 37.50 still for this week, collecting 38. And then sold to go along with more shares as well, 39s, $258,000 profit. Tempest AI, I probably should have put orange on that. They bought to close their 66s for 16 cents, and they sold 62 still in the same week, collecting 55 cents. All right, so we will 52.83 on Tempest. So, oh, I did mark it on that page. I just didn't mark it here. And then finally, VST, just put some more money to work in that. That's another debit call spread, so that's why it costs money up front. So just don't consider these a loss, right? Generally, when we have losses in this, it's because the trade went against us on the regular strategy. These handful of these are not part of the regular strategy. RH and VST are two of them. So on these, you put the money in up front, and then you see how much you get on the back end. So hopefully we'll be closing these out for a nice profit on Friday. Okay, so all that totals up to a $964,000 loss in trading today. But again, really IonQ is what ruined it for us. Almost $1.8 million in losses. But RH, $288,000 and VST, $335,000. Again, those really aren't losses. So that would be $600,000 of that $900,000, really. But anyway, all in all, we spent $964,000 more than we made. As you can see, share values decreased today, 6.1 million. We'll look over here to see why. All right, yesterday we talked about buying into the new stock, Applied Optoelectronics. So you can see why they are in ULTY, right? We like the high IV, and they have a 124.5% IV. So that's why they're in this one. First day, up 1.66% to 26.88. Their calls that are sold for this week are at 29 and 30. They're 7.8 and 11% out of the money. AMD, we don't own any shares. It's just put spreads. So it went up 2.24% to 137.82. But these 138s and 140s are still in the money. So we actually need the stock to go above 140 in order to win these trades by Friday. AppLovin down a fraction to 344.75. These 342.50s are 0.6% in the money, and the 347.50s are 0.8% out of the money. So far, they've done well to not close them out, because although they didn't come down where we need them, they did come down a little bit, and a whole nother day passed by, so that premium associated with time is decaying away. AST Space Mobile down 0.5% to 45.46. Calls are 5.5 and 12% out of the money. Expiring Friday, they're at 48 and 51. Coinbase lost 0.64% to 354.82. Their calls are still 2.1% out of the money. I'll try to basically assume that everything's expiring on this Friday unless I point out otherwise. First Solar was the biggest loser of the day. That's why we colored them in red. Down 6.5% to 165.48. The orange here indicates under construction, right? So all those trades took place. We didn't find that out till after hours, so we won't get the new information for the holdings until tomorrow. So all of this will be updated tomorrow, so we don't need to talk about them. Robinhood down 2.34% to 91.27, taking this week's calls 4 and 9.5% out of the money. Looking good. We would like them to stay under 95 to be able to win these trades. IonQ lost 0.4%, but it just wasn't coming down quick enough for them, so they closed out their large position that were at 44, so 6,000 plus contracts. They rolled those out. I think that was one where we rolled the next week. They do still have 3,300 contracts at 44.50 that are 1.1% in the money, and they've also got some 48s for this week as well, 900 contracts that are 6.6% out of the money. LabVIEW, it's a triple leveraged S&P Biotech bull, is up 3.86%, $60.25, still just slightly out of the money, 0.41%. So they can only go up another quarter by Friday. All right, Mara Holdings was the big winner over here, up 4.6% to 1752. That took their 1750s 0.1% in the money. We got 12,000 contracts there, so we would like them to come back down a little, have a little pullback tomorrow. And their 18s are 2.7% out of the money. MicroStrategy up 0.32%, 396.94. Still 3.2 and 4.5% out of the money on those. Oklo down 4.1% to 53.61. We're 7 and almost 11% out of the money on the calls. Palantir up 0.42% to 139.40 or 71. I started looking over here too early. So they rolled the deeper in the money calls, but they still have 135s and 142s that are 3.3% in the money and 1.6% out of the money. All right, Reddit went down 4.79% to 146.03. With that drop, sorry, let me take a drink so I don't have this goofy voice. All right, with that drop, the further out of the money ones became cheap enough that it made sense to roll them out, roll them closer to try and get some more premium. And they still have 150, 750s that are 7.8% out of the money. Rigetti down 2.69% to 1338. That helped, right? If you were watching yesterday, we went in the money, so these dropped back out of the money. Good thing we didn't close them. 11,000 contracts there. So they're 0.9 and 4.6% out of the money. Then they also have 1450s out till next week. 10,000 contracts. They're 8% out of the money. RH, this is one of our debit call spreads. So we purchased the 180 and we sold the 202.50 and the 215. These two numbers will combine to make that number. So this is one where we want it to go in the money. And I did kind of jump ahead just in case you're new here. Our color coding for the options, if you sell a call or a put, you want it to end out of the money so you don't have to pay to close it out. So red would look bad because it's in the money. Yellow is close but in your favor. That's within 5%. And green is greater than 5% out of the money. That'd be in your favor. Now, the reason I don't color these red, because red means bad, but on a debit spread, we didn't sell. We sold, but we sold on the further away end. So the one that is closer is a purchase, and we want it in the money. So for this to make the best profit, we would want the stock to close around 202.50 on Friday. So Super Microcomputer up 4.25% to 49.11. That took these 49s just in the money, and they still have 52s that are 5.8% out of the money. New Scale, that's SMR, down 4.43%, 35.08. They left the put side alone, but they rolled the sold call closer because those got far enough away that they were nice and cheap. Tempest AI down 0.86% to 58.51. They've got 62s that are almost 6% out of the money still alive. They rolled the 66s since they were so far out of the money that they got to be a cheap closeout. TQQQ, another triple leverage fund. This one's from ProShares, up 0.13% to 83.03. We've got 86s and 87s expiring Friday, 3.5% and 4.7% out of the money. Tesla up 1.32%, 297.81. This week's calls are 5.7% out of the money. And now Upstart's the last one where we own shares, down 0.37% to 76.07. Still 2.7% in the money on the 74s and 5% out of the money on the 80s. Both still expiring on Friday. Next, we've got two more debit call spreads. One for Vertiv Holdings, 115, 129. So we would like it to go as close to 129 as possible. We're at 125.97, so that's not bad. It's doing well. As you can see, the calls we own are worth $2.9 million, whereas the calls we sold and will have to pay to close out are down to $383,000. So that's working well. And then Vistra Corp, similarly, right? We bought 170, we sold 197.50. So the as close to 197.50 as possible would be the best case scenario. We could go up another $7.20, but they are doing well. As you can see, we go to close these out. The 170s are worth 4.7 million. We'll get to sell them at the end, and we're gonna have to pay to close out the 197.50s. They only are gonna cost 550,000 or less, based on where the price is right now. So all in all, we lost we didn't lose. We decreased in value $6.1 million. It's not a loss because we didn't sell the shares. We just went down in value. But you see that number. We are creeping ever so close to that 1 billion, and I'm almost guaranteeing now that we're going to hit 1 billion before Pallady. There was an increase, almost 10 million shares yesterday. So this is really taking off. 2 months ago, we were at 200 and something million. So we have gone, we'll be up almost 5 times by the 3-month mark. ULTY closed at 623, and adding the new, let me make sure that I actually didn't update that. So it's going to go up. B4, let's see what how much that helps. So we're at 70.79, but we actually need to add the newest holding. We went from 70.79 to 73.95, almost 74. So thank you, ULTY fund managers, for adding that one, because that makes our multiplier higher when they go to figure out what they're going to pay us. So we like that. Now, it won't factor into the distribution you're going to hear tomorrow, because that's already been decided, but it'll factor into next week's. All right, now we're done with ULTY. We'll move over to LFGY. We're able to get through them quicker. There's a lot less stocks within the fund, and the trades don't take as long to talk about either. So if you noticed, that's why I meant to have the thumbnail up. We crossed out Tesla yesterday because they showed that they sold the shares, but then when we opened today, we still had a couple of shares left of Tesla, so they sold the rest of them today. Now we're fully out of Tesla. We sold the remaining 864 shares. Okay, we don't go in deep detail line by line for these, because you get things like BitDeer collecting 5 cents on one contract, or $5, right? So we don't want to do that a bunch of times. So the only few that really mattered were ones where they closed out the calls and sold new ones. Starting with Core Scientific, closed 6,000 plus contracts at 19, paying 3 cents. We brought them down to 15, but we rolled out to next Friday, collecting 51 cents. That came to an overall profit of 183,000. Galaxy closed their 24s for this week. They sold 21.50s for next week, paid 2 cents, collected 62 cents, and then sold some more. I'm not sure where. They're just putting some more money to use. Overall profit of 64,000. GameStop closed out their 25s, almost 1,900 contracts, paying 4 cents, and they sold 23.50s for next week. 41 cents collected, $52,000 profit. They adjusted the calls. So LFGY does not follow the same strategy ULTY does. ULTY owns the shares, sells calls to generate income, buys puts to protect the value, because if the stock drops, the put will increase in value to help protect from NAV erosion. LFGY does not do that. They don't buy puts. So they sell calls, and then sometimes they will also buy calls further out, creating a credit spread. So sometimes they protect themselves that way, but they don't have downside protection. Robinhood closed their 105s for Friday, paying 16 cents. They sold 97s for next Friday, collecting $235, $181,000 profit. And that was the last one. I forgot I missed it somewhere. One of them, they made like a double move within the day. It must have been an ULTY. They did well. But, okay, so all those trades, all the rest of them, they were only fractions of what they owned, not the full amounts. So that's why we don't sit there and waste a lot of time talking about them. It resulted in a profit of $501,000 on the trading day. So far we've got 2 positive trading days in a row for LFGY that go along with 2 decreases in share values, which is kind of how it goes. You're generally going to win your trades if the stocks go down. You're generally going to lose your trades because they went past your call strikes when the stocks go up a lot. But our trade wins were better than our share value loss, as you can see there, 400,000-ish. So let's take a look and see which stocks went up, which ones went down, and how it made that effect. So BitDeer went down 3.39% to 1268. Their $15 calls are now 18+% out of the money. Still looking to see them close them out anytime now. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with trading options yourselves. Some options only trade in 5-cent increments, so sometimes that gets frustrating, right? The best case scenario is buying to close at 5 cents, even when something's like practically worthless. I wonder, with it being in a multiple of 5, if BitDeer falls into that category. CleanSpark up 2.38% to 1160, still 7.7% out of the money on those 1250s. Coinbase down 0.64% to 354.82. They have 360s that are 1.46% out of the money. Core Scientific was the big loser. You see that they got 35% out of the money. That's why they were able to roll for such a cheap closeout price and collect some more premium. Circle Internet Group, this got added yesterday, down about 1.25% to 204.81. We've got calls this week for 11% out of the money, 227.50s. We'll just take a quick look. Adding this new stock to the fund gave us another high yield, high IV to help with our multiplier, 93.2%. I should have B16. I'm pretty positive I already added that one. Yep. So hang on, I'll tell you real quick, because it's just last week's multiplier was 63.09, so 63.75. So it brought us up about 0.66%. But hey, we'll take any increase they want to give us. Okay, Galaxy Digital down 1.17% to 1946. They closed the further out of the money and larger position, right? 1,000 contracts. They still have 50 contracts that are 5% out of the money at 2050. GameStop up 0.62%, but they were still got nice and cheap, so they rolled those. We don't need to talk about them. We'll get the new info tomorrow with the holdings. Robinhood down 2.34% to 91.27. They got nice and far out of the money, then closed and rolled those. Hut 8 Corp down about 1.5% to 20.89. They're 10% out of the money on those 23s. iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF went up 0.68%. We don't do any options with them, so it's just whether our shares increase or decrease in value. Mara Holdings was the big winner today, up 4.6%. That did not help. We were already 4% in the money before the day started, and we went even further. Did we not? We didn't close those out? Nope. Okay, so we're going to need a pullback, or those are going to get pretty pricey to close out. As you can see right now, it's going to cost, but that's from before the day started. So after it went up 4%, that's going to be even higher, and not 4% higher, a lot more. Okay, MBTX, we don't own shares. We just trade options on them. We have 2 spreads, a call spread, a credit call spread at 260 and 285. The 260 is currently about 1% out of the money, with the stock closing at 257.50. We also have a debit put spread. So this means they are betting by December 31st that the stock is going to take a pretty drastic drop, because 230 is the purchased portion of that, and 150 is the further out of the money one. So they are betting big that either you're going to get a large drop soon, and they'll just close it out for a win because there'll be a lot of time value left, or that just by December 31st that this will be well below 230. Mercado Libre down about 1% to 24.6760. I don't know why they've got one contract there at 25.35, 2% out of the money, but the other 23 contracts are about 5% out of the money at 2600. MicroStrategy down 0.32% to 396.94. They've got 410s and 412.50s, roughly even split, 3.2 and 3.9% out of the money. I think those were right about the same strike prices that ULTY had. Maybe this was a 415. NU Holdings, we're getting near the end. We can see the bottom. 1.68% increase to 13.59. They're still 3% out of the money with a couple trading days left. 3 to be exact. NVIDIA up 1.1% to 160 even. We've still got $5 to go to hit that 165. They're 3% out of the money. Opera up 0.2% to 1914, about 4.5% out of the money on those 20s. PayPal down 1.5%, 75.03, just about 4% and 5.2% out of the money on the 78s and 79s. Really doesn't matter if we lose the 78s. It's the 79s that are going to make or break whether or not this trade wins. 7 contracts compared to 500. Riot Platforms up 0.17% to 11.57, 12% out of the money. They're obviously getting nice and cheap. They'll be probably getting closed out tomorrow if I had to guess. Tesla, we finally did actually sell the shares. As you can see, they closed out all the options yesterday, but they still had some shares left over. And then Block, XYZ, down 2.25% to 67.85. That helped pull these a little further out of the money. We don't really want it to drop anymore, though. 4.65% out of the money. It all totals up to a $435,000 decrease in value on the fund. It's currently worth about $153 million, and yesterday we reported 175,000 new shares are added to the outstanding shares. We're at 3,850,000. Our NAV and our closing price are within a few cents of each other. All right, that's about all there is to it. I was wondering as I'm going through this, right? So if anybody trades any of the stocks within these individually and kind of gets help either from these videos or just from the information provided, just to see where the pros are selling and buying calls and puts to help you decide where to buy the calls and puts, or if anybody tries to trade along with them, I'd be interested to hear that if you are doing that, and interested to hear how you're doing. That's pretty nice to see what the pros are doing. I think the only people that beat the pros are the people in Congress, right? They're the best traders around somehow. Okay, speaking of jokes, I got the dad joke of the day. So before I do, just thank you. Appreciate all the likes, the comments, the views, the shares, everything. Please let people know, especially spread the word that covering some of those Round Hill funds now. And that's about it. So dad joke of the day, you get that for putting up with me for the past 30 minutes. All right, what do you call a teacher that won't pass gas in front of the class? A private tutor. There's another joke similar to that answers a substitute. But all right, that one's pretty good, pretty funny. Okay, all right, have a good rest of your night. This one will be out a little earlier than usual because my kids' swim practice got canceled. But good luck trading tomorrow.